Okay, so I think there's some interesting things happening with this synth. I'm going to get out of my full screen editor. I'm going to go ahead and just press tab. And now I'm in the mix panel. Do I want to be here? No, let's go back to the arrange panel. I'll press tab again. Okay, so I want to add another instrument track, and I think I want to focus on some drums right now. So I will go ahead and just hit plus here. This will bring me to another instrument track into my pop-up browser. And where do I want to go? Well, I did create a snapshot before where I could specifically find drum presets. Let's go ahead and just jump into there. And now I could find all types of presets if I want to. I'm going to load up one of these presets just so we can talk about some basics with the drum machine, and then we'll step back from there. Let's go ahead and try this Auto Braun kit. And I don't see it because I'm not looking at the right panel at the bottom of the screen. Let's go to device. There it is. Okay. So here's the drum machine. And this drum machine is loaded with a bunch of different sounds. The drum machine is a container device, which means that it can hold a bunch of other devices inside of it. Each one of these squares is a chain, and we can place numerous devices inside of it. Typically what you would do if you're using a drum machine to play back audio samples, let's say one-shot drum samples, normally you throw drum samples into here, and then they would end up inside of a different device, which is known as a sampler. Let me go ahead and hit OK, and we'll confirm this kit. This track is armed, and the kit sounds like what? Okay, it's a nice sounding kit. I like this quite a bit. If I didn't want to start from scratch, I might even keep it. But let's just look at what's really happening. The kick drum. This is not a synth-based sound. This is an audio sample. And when this audio sample was added to the drum machine, it was placed inside of a sampler because that's how samples had to be played back with MIDI. All right. So the thing is, let's say maybe you load a drum machine and you don't see the devices inside of it. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's do this. All right. So if this is the case, let's say maybe you don't see anything other than just the chains here. Maybe you don't even see the remote controls. All right. Just remember, you can always use these buttons here to show different aspects of the device. All right. There's returns there. These are effects that are nested inside of the drum machine. We have our remote controls. And then if I want to see the devices, I can click on the different chains to expose them. If I wanted to change specific parameters about the kick, that has to happen in the sampler inside of the drum machine. Now, I'm not going to cover the sampler extensively here. There's a full course dedicated to the sampler. It's a very deep machine. For our purposes here right now, this kick drum is actually using what's known as a textures mode. There's 3 different modes for the sampler. Usually the repitch mode is what you would probably use. It is the default setting, and samples will get treated like you would expect. You play a higher pitch, they'll play faster. You play a lower pitch, they'll play back slower. That's how most samplers typically work. You have the cycles option where you can use the sampler almost like a wavetable synth. And you can use the textures option if you want to get some more granular synthesis happening with sampler. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all these options now. The main reason I mention this is because if you put samples in the drum machine and you want to change parameters of the individual samples, it has to happen over here. All right. So for example, I want to change the pitch of my kick. I select the kick and go over here. As I change the pitch, we can hear this is being time stretched because in the textures mode, pitch and speed are independent. All right, so I can have this happening in my drum machine. The fact that I can turn a kick into that is pretty crazy. If I had this set up in the default setting, which is repitch, all right. So just be aware, if you want to change settings with samples, if you're adding samples to the drum machine, they're going to show up inside of a sampler. The sampler is very deep, but don't be intimidated. It gives you a lot of options. But also, if you just want the basics, just stick with repitch and keep it simple. So I don't actually want to start with a drum machine preset, though. I'm going to start with a blank drum machine. So I'm going to get rid of this, hit plus, and just load a blank drum machine. All right, so now I have an empty template to start with, and I want to start loading some sounds. So before I get into that, I just want to make it clear, if you're going to create a custom drum machine yourself, one good thing to know is that usually C1 is typically going to be your kick drum. I want to add a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, and maybe some other percussive sound. So I'm going to make sure my drum kit starts at C1, and I will populate these chains here. We can see each one of these chains has a plus button because it's empty. So with all of this knowledge ready, let's start exploring some devices that we can put into our drum machine.